Welcome to the Municipal Light Plant Board of Commissioners meeting August 8th, 2018 at 7 p.m. Okay. This meeting is being audio and video recorded through Rowley Community media, and will be shown on TV at some point in time under Channel 9 for Comcast and Channel 26 for Verizon. Okay, so that takes us down to Citizens Query, item number 1. From 7 p.m. to 7:10 p.m. Anyone have a citizen's query?
Review the minutes, Mr. Chairman?
What's that?
I want to review the minutes.
We can review and accept previous meeting minutes. Have you had a chance to read them or look at them?
Yes, I did. We have 2 sets, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, that's correct. Any issues, problems,
Good to me.
things, questions?
Good to me.
Okay.
So the first set's
Entertain a motion to,
June and July. Yep. Have a motion to accept June and July minutes.
I second it.
motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that was June 13.
I believe so. I don't have the minutes in front of me, so I'm not sure what it is.
I don't know, I don't see a signed signature on the bottom.
Yeah, June 13th.
June 13th, okay.
Did I give you the punched copy, Mr. Chairman?
Probably somewhere here.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, there's got to be around here somewhere.
That looks like the bottom.
Okay, now we're into July 11. Is that one been taken care of, do you think?
Yep.
Okay, entertain a motion. July 11, 2018,
Yeah, we voted that.
Commissioners meeting. So,
Well said.
all the, was it July?
Yeah, we did June, July.
Okay. So,
Everybody's here for the light plant meeting, the light commissioners? Just making sure, because it was negative.
okay, there's one. I'm assuming it covers both.
No, you should have another
There's
set
another
for
one,
June,
yeah.
yeah.
This is the 13th, June 13th.
Thank you, Kevin. Here you go, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Got them all.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll also want to move on to item 3.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
Gosh, I've got, we did do, here we go, it just came back again. July 11th, right?
Yeah.
We did both.
We did that.
Yep.
We did both.
Okay.
It's good on both.
Okay. So you want to go back on to 3? Item 3 is update on Rowley LLC solar project.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Beatrice here, who represents Rowley Solar LLC.
Thank you. Just to update the commissioners. The last time we were here, we were still in the permitting phase with respect to the planning board as well as Concom, essentially waiting for the planning board to approve the special permit as pending. There is a meeting tonight at 8 o'clock with respect to that. In terms of the progress of the project, beginning with that July 11th meeting that we attended after we were here, we made significant progress towards a resolution of some of the technical engineering issues with respect to the plan. And we had the planning board, requested the planning board schedule a special meeting for us on July 30th to try and expedite the matters. What occurred was that we were waiting for comments from the peer review consultant so that we could address them appropriately for a final revised plan. We did get those comments just prior to the July 30th meeting, and it appears now that there are no technical issues with respect to the engineering. What will be discussed tonight, I assume, will be just the conditions of the permit. We did receive a copy this morning, actually, of the proposed conditions. We sent over a response fairly quickly, and it's those issues that will be discussed tonight. It is our hope that the public meeting will be closed tonight and that the conditions will be resolved and there'll be a vote for the permit. So we should know this evening whether another meeting is going to be required to finalize it. We certainly hope not, but we'll know where we stand tonight. So in terms of any issues before the commission or dates or whatnot, we should be in a much more knowledgeable place after tonight's meeting. I did speak to the chairman of the planning board involving procedural matters, and the issue was raised as to detailed plans of the proposed solar array. And my assumption is, and my information is, that the commission, Rowley Light Plant, will require that in terms of a submittal. And I wanted to confirm that.
Can you just state that question again?
In terms of plans, my assumption is, and maybe Bonnie can weigh in on it, is that we will be submitting plans for approval, so to speak, with respect to the solar array, detailed technical aspects of the project.
a requirement of the interconnection agreement and the PPA is submittals of a stamp P drawing of the project to my engineer so he can continue with the interconnection study that he started. So yeah, there will be a set of plans sent to my engineer to review.
Because that is an issue that was brought up with respect to the conditions. I represented to the chairman and will represent at the meeting tonight that that is the case, and we would submit the same plans basically to the planning board as a condition that we would submit to you.
Okay.
They would just like that corroborated, either in person at the meeting or in writing.
Okay. I assume it wouldn't have to be tonight.
It would be
It
very
would be
helpful.
very beneficial to you if it was tonight, okay. All right.
And if you could attend, I would raise that initially, just so you don't have to sit through 20 minutes of other stuff.
What time does the meeting start?
We're on the agenda at 8.
On the agenda at 8?
Yes.
I can't guarantee it, depending on how long this meeting lasts. We do have important executive session to do during the meeting, so.
Certainly.
um,
My assumption is the meeting will last at least a half hour tonight,
Okay,
maybe longer.
okay.
But if I spot you in the audience, wherever we're at, I'll
Be more
stop
than happy to do
and
that, yep.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, the citizens' query is all over. And the next item is item 4, RMLP EV program.
Okay, we've talked, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We've talked in the past about an RMLP electric vehicle program, and we spoke at the July meeting, and I just got information that day to finalize the program, but didn't have it on the agenda because I had just gotten the information, so I couldn't put it on the agenda. So it's on the agenda tonight to basically finalize the program, and basically I came up with a little sheet to show the commissioners how much it's actually gonna cost for the program.
Thank you.
No, I've got more, Eric, if you need more. So, I think at the last meeting, we kinda had a general discussion, we were in agreement with moving forward. But this kind of gives you a rundown of the actual cost of the program. So I'll run by it real quick. The RMLP EV program cost, there are one-time costs from Energy New England and Sagewell. Startup cost, $2,500 for the one-time fee from E&E, $1,800 from Sagewell. And the enrollment fees for each EV in the Sagewell program is $45 per EV. What I base that number on is 10 EVs in the first year. I think it's an aggressive number, but I basically just put it 10 EVs just to put a starting number in there. So the total yearly cost would be $4,750. So there are also monthly costs associated with the program. Monthly cost from Energy New England is $750 per month. There is a $5 per month per EV cost from Sagewell, giving you basically, if we use 10 EVs, $800 per year. I'm sorry, that's
Per
not
month.
right. No, per month. Sorry, total, I should read my own caption. Total monthly cost is $800, so that would be total first year program cost. If we had 10 EVs enrolled, it would be $14,350 for the first year. That includes the startup cost for E&E and Sagewell, the $450 for the 10 EVs for the enrollment, and all the monthly fees for that year.
What does the monthly fee entail?
Monthly fees entail, I know I've given you this in passing.
Okay.
I didn't print all new copies out, but I will have the program right here. So monthly fees, they develop a website with unique IP address. They work with NLP to design unique EV-related page. They provide 800 number for phone inquiries with trained EV specialists. They develop initial repository for marketing materials, a minimum of 5 pieces. They provide monthly reporting of EV registrations within the territory. They provide outreach for user group and actively promote and manage participation. They coordination of ride and drive events, coordination of EV ambassador program. So all this is included in the $750 a month. A management of a dealer education program in coordination with a third-party group for purchase plans. So all that's basically what they're managing for the $750 per month.
What's the Sagewell component?
The Sagewell component is, E&E offered us a smart charging equipment rebate program and a basically a charging equipment program, but it was kind of expensive. They partnered with Sagewell, another company. The gentleman was in, I think it was the first gentleman that we
Yes.
introduced you to. They came in and said, well, we already have this program in place, we've already done it. So they partnered with E&E to come up with a BYOC program, which is a bring your own charger program. And that's basically what the Sagewell fees cover, is the bring your own charger program. So what it does is basically, I have the PowerPoint presentation. So the Sageville deliveries for the program are the turnkey BYOC peak load reduction program. They enroll software, off-peak charging, compliance monitoring, customer support call center, EV charging data analysis and reporting, and the program can be launched immediately. Basically, that's what they're doing for the.
So they're basically just gonna track when the EVs are charged for us.
Yes, yes, so they make sure they're charging off peak. So continuing on with the spreadsheet, the, down the bottom I listed out an additional 3 lines. The cost of the program going forward, if 10 EVs enrolled per year is $10,050. That doesn't include the 450 base enrollment. That'd be another fee. The cost per year for program, if we had 20 EVs enrolled, would be
Yep.
$10,800. Those are the monthly fees. So the last line, if I use E&E's numbers of about 3,784 kilowatts per year, the revenue per EV per year is about plus or minus $507 per year. Times 10 EVs, $60,840 per year revenue.
Revenue
Additional
for Raleigh Light,
for Raleigh Light. I'm showing you that to show what
the offset.
the offset in the program is.
How many people have shown interest?
The program isn't out, we haven't.
We haven't put,
No, we haven't voted on it, so we haven't rolled out the program yet.
right.
So as you know, with every program, depending on how many people enroll, depends. The 750 and the 750 is really the only charge that stays the same every month. All the other fees are based on a per vehicle charge, per vehicle. So if we have 5, those will be reduced to half.
How many years is the $750 a month?
As long as the program runs.
So you're locked into a contract?
No, there's no contract, I just don't have an end date for the program.
Okay.
So if, right now, we're looking at 10, but if only 5 people signed up, we'd be paying half the price, or?
No, the $750 would stay the same,
The $750 would stay the same,
but the $450 for 10 EVs would drop in half.
would drop in half.
The $50 for 10 EVs would drop in half to $25.
So it would be, as you go would be, so if only 3 people signed up, it would be 3 people, 3 times $450.
It's
3 times 45.
3 times 45.
I'm
Because
fine.
if you look at the note, it's based on 10 EVs.
Oh, okay, I'm
It's
sorry.
$45 per EV
Okay,
for the enrollment,
okay,
and it's $5 a month for the program cost.
okay.
I get a quick question regarding the revenue per year per EV. I have
Did I
it
do that
marked
wrong?
at 507.
Yeah, I should.
So 10 per year would be 5,070.
That's my funny math. I did it in the spreadsheet, so I might have put a cell in wrong. Yeah, so 507.
You were doing it with your thumb. That's what you were doing.
507 times, okay, right, you know what I did? I multiplied it times 12. That's what I did. Got multiplied by the month. 6,000, yeah. Times 10, right. So what I did was I multiplied the 507 times 12.
Okay.
So the real annual revenue is 5,000.
5,070, yes, I'm sorry. My mistake. Right. 507 times 10.
Dan, would this allow existing owners to participate in the program, or would it just be for new?
No, I would say we'd allow anybody who has an existing EV to participate in the program. And it's just for electric vehicles, not hybrids, not plug-in
Plug-
hybrids or,
Full plug-in electric.
yeah, full EVs.
And BEVs, right?
Battery electric hybrids, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't, it excludes ones that,
What do you mean by a BEV is a?
Oh, BEV is battery electric. It's pure electric.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
BEV.
but not
Not
partial.
gas-assisted
Yeah.
battery.
I don't know if there's any vehicle hybrid that has a plug-in device on it, are there?
Yeah,
There's
there's a number of, yeah, plug-in hybrids. So
The
non-plug-in hybrids would be excluded.
Yes.
Or plug-in hybrids would be excluded.
The Volt is a hybrid plug-in?
But, right, the Volt is,
Yeah.
Okay.
so that would be excluded.
That I'll have to determine as part of the program. I
Okay.
didn't ask that question when I asked them,
Ah, okay.
so.
Can I question, who supplies the chargers? Is ENE or Sagewell supply the chargers, or is that at the owner's own expense?
The owners are, it's BYOC, so it's bring your own charger.
Right.
So the owner would supply and install the charger.
Do you know if it would have to be a required, like a level 2, or would it be, would everyone comes with the car, because they all come on,
No, it'd have to be a level 2 charger.
it'd be a level 2 with
A
intelligence?
level 1 wouldn't affect peak as much as a level 2.
Sure.
And that's the reason why we want the level 2 chargers monitored. Sorry about making that mistake on the number. I thought we did that.
Can we mandate that they run the Sagewell software to force charging off peak? Which is where the town really saves our money.
To participate in the program, you have to charge off.
Do they need a permit? They need a permit though to put in a charger.
They need a permit to put in the charger from the, yeah.
Could it be a condition of the permit?
I didn't look at it that way, but it could be, yeah.
It's kind of what you want to force, isn't it?
Yeah, we want to make sure that they charge off peak, so yeah, that would be
Bingo.
part of it.
That'd save a lot.
So there's going to be no off-peak charging rate for now or anything, correct?
That's correct. Not for now. There is one other thing that Sageville does, and they give rebates. And they didn't address that, but it's not clear as far as what the rebate is. Funding of customer rebate says $50 per 6 months. I have to clarify that from them. before, that's why I didn't put it on the sheet. I need to clarify that.
Is there a possibility of including an E&E rebate on the EV charger as well for customers willing to take this up?
Originally, E&E in their first proposal had us rebating the charges, so I don't see why we couldn't. To basically make sure that people get the right charger. But if, I don't know, I could ask that question.
Because I think that was part of one of the other programs that they pitched at one point.
Now, which charger? There's two chargers, right? There's the regular charger, and then there's a
Well, the regular charger that comes with the car is just a
basic,
120 volt plug into your regular outlet charger.
right?
The charge, I believe, is, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, 10 to 12 hours on a 120 volt charger, maybe?
Probably, yeah, depending on the capacity of the car.
Right.
Right.
But
It's an
the
overnight, yeah, you
Yeah.
can charge it.
Level 2 charger is probably 5 to 8 hours, I believe.
And then there's the smart charger. Or-
A level 2 can be a smart charger, or it can be a regular charger. You know, a smart charger is something that's Wi-Fi compatible, so it hooks into a Wi-Fi network. The Wi-Fi chargers, they've been having issues with the Wi-Fi chargers and
Okay.
connectivity. So, and that was one of the reasons why I recommend not going with the second part of the E&E program, because they want to incentivize the smart chargers, but they were having a lot of issues with the smart chargers and getting the data from them. Sagewell seems to have a program that they get the data from these chargers 100% of the time, all the time. And that's the reason why Sagewell is a better
Oh,
option
okay,
than the
I see, okay.
Is there any prediction of how much we would save on wholesale purchases, like per car, on if they did charge off peak? So if they're just randomly charging 24/7 versus using this software, how much will that save us on purchases?
That's a good question. I'm
Tough
not,
calculation.
yeah, I would have to run some numbers on that to see where that would line up.
Because that's additional savings on your sheet yet.
It's avoided cost. Yeah, I could run some numbers to figure that out. There's a lot of dependence there as far as how many cars there are.
Yeah, a lot of
So-
assumptions.
A lot of assumption, because people normally they don't charge at home during the day, they charge at home at night. Generally after 5 o'clock when they get home from work. And generally the peak is just past or is just getting that peak around 5 o'clock. That's what we're trying to avoid, right, that critical time of day.
And you wouldn't really charge every night you came home. It would be every third day or something like that you would charge your car, depending on the commute. But the average commute, from what I understand, we went to a NEPA conference last year, is about approximately 15 miles. That's the average commute. So that's how they figured it out every third day for a charge.
See, my own thinking on that would be, I would get myself in the routine of plugging that in when I came home every night,
Well-
because I don't want
That's what I'm-
the possibility of that going flat. Because what if, while I'm out doing my run to wherever,
Yeah,
all of a sudden I get a phone call, oh, I've got to run here, oh,
Right.
but I don't have my full battery. So to me, my thought would be, I come home, that's part of my routine. If that's my commuter vehicle, I plug it in, I top it off. And if I don't have to think about when it's charging overnight, great, I wake up and here's my full battery and away we go.
but I don't know, I don't know anybody who has an electric vehicle yet, but I was just wondering, how sometimes with batteries, there's memory with the battery when you charge it. And if you charge it when it's just down a little bit, all of a sudden the battery, you've taught the memory of the battery not to take a charge for a long time. So I don't know if that is the same with vehicles.
Not so much, no, the technology's more, they're mostly lithium ion or all.
Yeah, lithium ion.
Batteries. And, most of them don't, you can at least, I know, with Tesla vehicles and some of the other ones, you can set the maximum limit for the charge, and that helps to preserve some of the battery life. So most of the time, at least with a lot of these brands, you can limit the charge so you're never actually maximizing the battery capacity. That helps to have a longer life.
I mean, we're just in the beginning of this. And, and to try to get all the pieces together. Last year we went to the NEPA conference, which is, and they started talking about, I'm curious, we're about to go in a couple of weeks to another NEPA conference. I'm really curious about battery technology, and they were talking, somebody briefly spoke about a capacitor battery. That's the one they're trying to, an instantaneous charge, and that in a matter of a minute or so you can full charge. How long down the road that is, we don't know.
Yeah, those
Not in the
solid state
next 5,
batteries
6 years,
are
yeah.
pretty far off
Yeah.
still. Probably like 4 to 5 years, if not longer, for marketability. From what?
I hope it's
What
not.
I've seen.
I hope it's not 45 years. I hope.
No,
it's,
4 to 5.
Oh, 4 to 5.
Probably like
I hope. Yeah.
yeah. Give it another
Sorry about that.
8 years or so, something like that, for it to be as widely available as like the lithium-ion style batteries. So it's far enough out that Tesla's not researching it at the moment to put it in their factory.
I saw a nice
So.
Tesla on Route 1 the other day, down in Topsfield. I don't know if you.
Or a nice car.
Nice looking car.
Out of my range.
Oh, I think it's kind of a good idea to maybe get in front of this. I mean, Dan has
Yeah.
put this together pretty well. We both sat in a number of presentations on all of this. I would rather be, like I said, ahead of it than be
Yeah.
behind it. Once we get 20 EVs enrolled, we're basically breaking even per year on our numbers.
And like I've been talking to Dan about this. This is going to come upon us all of a sudden like a storm. This is going to hit us, and people are going to start looking at the price of gasoline, and then looking at the price of electricity to charge. And I think they're talking about $3.25 a gallon, something like that. That's when it's more economical for an electric vehicle. I don't know. I've seen numbers.
It is now.
Depends where you live.
Right. With our rate, it is now more economical to charge it with electric than it is to buy gas.
Yeah.
To get to 20 vehicles, I don't think it's going to be that long to get.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think, once people, see the program, it's in place and everything else, and they start looking at their commute, I think people start to, this is an alternative. This is, it's viable.
How hard would it be with, to get Susan Hazen to look at the tax records and give you a list of all the EV owners in town and send them a note saying, hey, would
We
you
already
be?
have that
You did
information.
that, okay.
When they register
Yeah.
for the rebate, that information's with the state, so I can get that information.
I mean, how many do we have now?
I believe there's 5 or 6.
You had less than I did.
So what did you have?
I had 7.
All right, so
But
I
that was a
think it was
combination of BEVs, hybrids, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And just by looking at the license plate, it's EV.
Yeah, but I would have no idea.
Yeah.
I
That's
believe it's
fewer
5.
than I thought. I would have guessed a dozen or 20, but,
There's quite a few hybrids in town.
yeah, so if you do pure EV, it's maybe 3 or 4? I
3 or
don't
4,
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right around 3 or
about
4.
that.
Yeah.
But it's, you're right, it's coming, and better to be ready for it.
Yeah, get out in front of the curve. Because I see it all of a sudden, it'll be a flood upon us.
Okay. Can I make a motion to adopt the EV program as proposed, utilizing Sagewell and E&E services?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There's a marketing component with that program too, right?
That's correct.
a line printed in everybody's electric bill.
No, it'll be more than that.
Bill,
It'll
yeah.
be- Yeah, it'll be
At a
flyers,
minimum.
it'll be out customer outreach, it'll be ride drive events, there'll be all kinds of different things that are associated with the program to basically boost the knowledge of the residents, the customers about EVs.
Great. It's exciting.
Yeah?
Well, talking about the program, so would there be something down on the common or something like that we could do, or?
Yeah, we could actually do, truck day just went by, we could
Yep.
have an EV there. We could do any event we have flyers in our office all the time about events of the common, we could piggyback on that and have a tent with an EV set up there
Yep.
with a specialist, and, yeah.
Yeah, I think people, I don't know if they're gonna just run out and go to a showroom, but if it's down on the common, there would be, I think you'd get quite a few people come down and take a look and say, let me take a look. I mean, I bought a hybrid, a year and a half ago, and I was kind of leery and everything else, and then once I drove one, I fell in love with it. It's, and then when you keep passing gas stations, you even fall in love with it even more. So,
From what I understand, customer engagement is huge, and
yeah,
engaging the customers that already have AVs to talk to, even having a local Raleigh resident at these
Yep.
events,
Yep.
they love to talk about their cars, from what I've
Yep.
heard. So, I mean, that would, having a Raleigh resident talk to another Raleigh resident
That's
about
right.
their EV is even better. So,
yeah, invite those who have EVs to come on down, bring their car.
we'll do a car show.
Yeah, do a car show.
We'll make a truck. Just offset it.
Nice green will be all set.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep,
So we're all set there?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, item 5, review RMLP net metering policy.
I believe the question was asked at the last meeting, if the commissioners would review, what our net metering policy is. Basically, I hand out some copies of our current net metering policy, if anybody in the audience wants one. A few extra copies.
You can have one?
If you want, that you want, what?
So you said it was on here.
I'm good.
So our net metering policy is very similar to most municipalities, electric municipalities in the state. It's very similar to Groveland, very similar to Georgetown's. Where they differ is mostly in the rates. Can you say that word after that? Go ahead, say it for me. So, really where we differ on is the rates, and the rates are on page 5, number 5, excess generation removed to RMLP. And I'll read A and B. A is RMLP will install a bidirectional metering equipment that is capable of registering the flow of electricity in each direction at the sole expense of the interconnecting customer. B is during a billing period, if the interconnecting customer uses more electricity than it generates, the customer will be billed based on the rate applicable to their rate class of service. If during a billing period the customer generates more electricity than they have used, the customer will be billed the minimum charge applicable to the customer's class of service and be credited for the excess electricity generated and fed into or onto RMLP's system by multiplying the excess electricity generated and measured in kilowatt hours by the wholesale cost of energy only, excluding transmission cost. Any credit will appear on the customer's next monthly invoice as a line item with the nomenclature net metering credit. So that is where other municipalities differ. They differ in wording, they differ in the actual rate. Our rate is calculated by taking the average local marginal price for the Northeast Mass load zone over the billing period, averaging that out. That gives you a wholesale cost for that month. And it's been averaging 3 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's what we give a customer for a credit on their bill times the kilowatt hours that they basically distributed to.
That they generate
They
and
generate
distribute
back on them.
back on
Yes.
the grid.
Yeah. The difference between us in a regulated IOU like National Grid or NSTAR or Eversource is, they have to give the customer the full retail credit for any excess delivered to them, which could be in the order of 10 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour. That's where we differ.
Say that again.
So our rate is roughly average 3 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour. The IOUs have to give the customer full retail credit. So whatever they're charging their customer, they have to give them as a credit for any kilowatt hours that's generated back to their system.
So that'd be from National Grid.
Do they only give credit for the power portion, not the distribution portion? Or the full, I thought it was the full amount.
I believe it's the
for
full
Nash's.
amount, yeah.
So
Whatever
here,
they're,
15 cents, 16
Yeah.
cents is our average.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did give full.
so it's a difficult space to be in, only because when a customer generates to us, they still need our distribution system to supply them when they need us. So that's been kind of the argument why people want to charge a distribution charge to customers even if they have solar, because we still have to maintain our distribution system. And if we're giving customers back everything that they generate to us, then they're not paying for the maintenance of the distribution system like every other customer is. So that's been the argument going back and forth between the IOUs and the DPU. We basically have a customer charge that covers the billing and general expenses in order to serve that customer. And we bill every customer that charge, including solar customers.
It's almost like a hookup charge to the grid.
Yeah, it doesn't quite cover all the costs,
Not
but,
all the costs, but
we're only giving the customer credit for the kilowatt hours at what we buy those kilowatt hours at. That kind of, your understanding of how the net metering policy works?
Yeah, yeah, and kind of I had talked about this last meeting, and some of it is it varies in how it's described in in Rowley's documentation here, in that it's less clear on what the wholesale cost is, where it's derived. You said is it the average day ahead? Is it the no?
No, it's the average LMP, it's not the day ahead, it's the real-time price.
Okay.
For the NEMA load zone.
The average over the month. Right?
Yes, yep.
And then, in the event you have excess credits at the end of a year period or something like that, is there a structure in there that accounts for what you do with those, any excess credits at the end of a year, or if they haven't run into it yet or not, but if there's excess credits at the end of a year, or whatever you deem to be an interval, a year, do those credits go towards something, or are billed back, so on?
We haven't had an instance where a customer's actually gotten to that point. The customer always seems to come back to using more than they generate. So any credit that they would have had, they would have used up.
They take it.
So
Okay.
the credits haven't been large enough to account for that much on their bill.
Okay. And then Todd brought this up before, talking about the EVs, but if you can realize what that offset is for your, you know, your purchase power or, you know, distribution by having the solar, and, you know, when it's more broadly installed in town, maybe, you know, there's a higher installed base of generators, you're going to have some sort of benefit to that from, you know, on the department's standpoint.
Right.
You know, avoided costs for distribution and purchased power. There'd be a mechanism somewhere to calculate what that real, you know, added value is for the, you know, for the generators.
So you're talking about an avoided cost for a solar system that's generating during a peak hour,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, and you know, there might have to be different tiers of service, you know, at peak times or not peak times, that would help gauge that, I imagine, but.
It's difficult because I don't want to rely on you to be there when I need you, because if the sun's not shining on that particular day, you're not generating, so you're using more power. So do I get to charge you if you use more power? Then, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you're going to make sure you're available for me on those hours, then I get to charge you more if you're not available. That's kind of the way the whole system works.
This is like capacity and availability payment
Right.
factors.
I think at that point, because we talked about generation, 2 bags of generation, and then we started looking at batteries, and I think that's kind of what the future's going to be. Somebody will, either us or somebody would put batteries in, and during the peak load, the batteries would kick in, and that would offset. So you'd be charging those batteries until that time you need them. You know.
Right. Well, we have, I believe, 4 residents who have Tesla Powerwalls in service now.
They have what? Sorry.
The Tesla Powerwall,
Okay.
the battery packs in their home,
Yeah.
prior to the solar.
It works
So-
nifty.
A question, I should have introduced myself earlier. Todd Hasselbeck, Weathersfield Street. I did just put in a solar array on my house, and Eric was helpful just a week or two ago when I got my first bill. So, a little background, I designed the system, the system was designed to meet about 50 to 60% of my annual usage. But in July, I quickly learned that I've overproduced significantly, more than I actually thought I would, which is, of course, a good thing. And I was a little surprised when I figured out with Eric's help on how the billing worked, that my credit over my production. So on a good day, I use about 20 kilowatt hours, and I produce about 32 kilowatt hours. So for that extra 10, when it's added up for the month, my credit last month was 2.9 cents. So that's the wholesale rate. So a lot lower than 15 or 16 cents, right? Because you don't get distribution or the retail.
Right.
So I knew the policy, I read the policy, so I knew it would be lower, but it didn't click to me when I was doing my own math on my return on investment, how low
Okay.
it would be. I was thinking 6 or 8 cents, something like that. So.
Did you install your system yourself? or did
No,
you-
I had it professionally done.
Did they have a copy of the solar?
Oh, yeah, and I researched it, full disclosure by the vendor, which was Revision Energy. They were very good at pointing that out, the difference between Rowley and an investor-owned utility.
I only ask because that's something I've run into myself,
Yeah.
whereas the companies come in and they sell them goods
Yeah.
because a lot of them are more used to working in IOU territory.
Totally
They
understand.
come in, sometimes they forget to ask for the tariff. They explain to the customer,
Right.
you should be getting a check for X per month.
Right.
And then when I come to do the billing, or not the billing, but the inspection,
Right.
and the question is always, hey, can you tell Mr. or Mrs. X how much they'll be saving per month?
Right.
Well, you'll be getting a credit of $4, $5, $6.
Right. Exactly.
So it's very important that the solar companies are.
Yeah. I think you're
Aware
right,
of the
that is a
policies.
problem. Generally, it was certainly not a problem with my vendor. And I did my own return on investment calculation, so I assumed, because I do work a little bit in the electric industry, so I used the average wholesale rate, I think.
So July and August are your peak
Yeah, so generally speaking, in my experience here in town, I'll overproduce. I haven't been in May yet, but probably half of May, June, July, August, half of September. Then because the production will drop and my use will go up, I'll probably, produce maybe half of what I'm using. And I think over the course of 12 months, any rolling 12 months, I'll probably produce 60% of my electricity. That's the design of the system. So 60% solar, 40% buying through the distribution network. I'd like to be able to put in some mini splits like this so I can shift some of my usage to electric from oil, cut down my heating bill, but
That's the next item on the agenda.
right, I know that. So, I guess as a resident who's, obviously biased based on this, I'm struggling with why we as a town-owned utility don't act more like investor-owned. And I could send you, I should have said it earlier, but I came across some research. Arcadia was a big consulting group, did a study a few years ago for all of Massachusetts, investor-owned and municipal, and they calculated that the offset cost, the avoided cost for municipal utilities was ranged from 22 to 26 cents. So it's well over the retail rate. Now, no one's rebating that,
Right.
but I would think, we just did, I read in the paper for the, whatever it's called, Raleigh Solar Project. Don't we have a PPA that we already negotiated with them?
Yes, that's correct.
What's that rate?
7.5 cents.
7.5, okay. 7.5 would be better than 2.9. Why would my solar be worth less than this young lady who was sitting behind me? So that's one way to approach it. The other is to look at this Arcadia study, which I'd be happy to forward, and say, maybe we should think what it's really saving the town in terms of offsets.
It's up to the commissioners what they want to,
Yeah.
if they want to see the information, and that's. if you
I
want
think
to
it's an
forward it.
ongoing discussion. I would not expect you to
Yeah.
make a decision tonight, I think, but it's a discussion, and Brian actually I met Brian because he came to look at the panels on my house, because he was interested in them and heard about it, so. I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you have the research that you looked at, and I think that says something, at
Yeah.
least for pointing out that there's hidden, not hidden, but other values to it, the social value and avoided cost values. And there are other MLPs, and I'm not familiar with what Groveland's net metering policy was. I actually couldn't find it, but some of the other ones around do vary differently. Like Ipswich is flat 10 cents. Peabody is retail rate, or but at the rate of their electricity. So it varies around. It's not all IOU standard, but all the MLPs seem to do a little bit different
A
things.
little bit differently, right. If you want to forward me that study, I'd be happy
happy
to forward
to.
that to the commissioners. It's
What's your email?
dfolder@raleighlite.com. LD, just like it sounds.
FOLDER.
DING, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I will send it tonight.
Sure, thank you.
And I can't vouch for the research, so you may be able to find some holes in it, but if it does line up for you, we should be encouraging as a town to get more and more people to put in solar, because it'll save us we're buying expensive electricity on afternoons like today.
During peak hours, that's correct.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
The battery backup is great too. It gives you,
How long is the battery backup last?
when we had the power outage,
Yeah.
I was able to go 12 hours. I'm keeping it minimum use. It's supposed to go 6 hours, but I could stretch it to 12. So it's helpful.
Yeah.
So it just switched, I don't know, 15 minutes ago, my solar panels just stopped and switched over to the battery pack. So it goes pretty long, and then the battery pack will now take it through, should take it through till 3 or 4 in the morning if I leave it alone for an hour.
And just so you know, even on the battery pack, if you are generating more than you're using, that will be credited as if your solar was running.
Oh, really?
So the meter doesn't discriminate between your solar or your battery.
Mm-hmm.
So if your battery's generating and you're not using everything the battery's putting out, if it goes back to the distribution system, that meter will see it and you will get credited for it.
Interesting.
Just curious, how big is the battery pack? What size?
I don't know. It's a Tesla battery, so I don't know
It's a
what the.
Tesla.
Powerwall.
Is it Powerwall 1 or 2 is the second one, or you've had it for a while?
I just got it this January, February?
I believe so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what it was.
It could be 12 and a half kilowatt maybe. Just a
I mean,
Powerwall 2.
I'm talking about the size of the battery.
Oh, the size. It's like a little bigger than the
Not
plantation
capacity,
sign up there.
but
But
Oh,
it's,
the size
but
of the
it's,
sign.
but it's rectangular, yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't take up much room.
Oh.
My nephew keeps telling me to take it out because it's gonna blow up one day, but besides that.
You can put it outside.
Well,
I considered that, but didn't do it because you guys do such a good job. There's
Thank
very
you.
few, I have been here 32 years, and I think I can count, other than this year, that long one, but that wasn't
Yeah.
your fault, but.
It wasn't. No,
I
no,
mean,
neither one.
I see, I did the math and said I don't need it. Hopefully that won't change.
I'm just amazed at battery technology.
It's getting better and
I work
better.
on, information. And we use batteries all the time, and I just, they were big gargantuous things, and now they're just shrinking down in size.
Pretty amazing.
You all set with that?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're on number 6, is it?
That's correct.
Item 6, discuss participation in the 2019 Heat Smart Massachusetts program.
I received an email from a attendee in the meeting tonight about the 2019 Heat Smart Massachusetts program. Brian, do you want to kind of give us a rundown of what the program is? I looked at it really quickly. It seems to be split up by a number of different pages on the Mass website. So
It is. It is kind of involved, but the Mass CEC is offering up a new Heat Smart program statewide. All towns and cities are available, not just IOUs. So municipalities are available to participate. So they're actually running a pilot program in some central Mass. Concord, Lincoln, and another one are part of a program right now, pilot program. And so they're opening up statewide to 6 participating towns / communities. And they can be, you can have more than one town combined together. And there's some criteria of the program. So if it's too small of a town, or their mix of high heating costs are not sufficient enough or high enough, then they won't be considered. But then that gives you the opportunity of joining up with other towns to kind of get you a bigger base of participants. So the program is basically for air sourced heat pumps, so ductless mini splits, systems like that, ground sourced air heating systems, so like your geothermal type systems where it's a loop in the ground, and then they also have modern wood stove is part of the program too. So there's an RFP process that's required to go through. It is, like I said, it's quite a bit extensive, and it's the proposals are due by September 16th to be able to participate or consider for the program, which would start, I think it's spring next year. And there was a webinar on it last week, and there's an available video on YouTube, a recording of the webinar that can be watched to better understand what it takes of the program. But for any of the participants that do get selected, the 6 towns or communities, they get a designated technical advisor that works with the town to put together their program. There's marketing funding that's available through the program. to get people interested in it, knowledge, select installers. So it's really the goal of the program is to get a large amount of people, and then you bring your installed price down because you've got a larger group participating, people to purchase this equipment. So it helps bring the installed cost down and make it more available for people that wouldn't otherwise go out and buy it on their own because they can be somewhat costly.
And these are mostly, excuse me, Brian, like this unit up here.
Yeah.
Like an air conditioning, heat pump
Yep.
source. So it's basically you have a unit outside the house, about this big, and hooked up to this wall unit like this, and this will cool in the summertime and heat in the winter.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, somebody I know moved to Newburyport, and they were telling me about, they put one of these in their home, and there was something like 50% rebate in the program that they were involved in. Are you familiar with that?
Well, Newburyport is not a municipality, so they get to participate in the state programs that are available already
Okay.
through
All right.
through Mass Save. So and those programs can be combined with this particular program too,
Okay.
according to the.
But this is similar, I take it.
It's a similar program. It's set up kind of like I can't think of it right now. Solar.
Rex. Yeah.
Well, there's the it's a solar program that was
Right.
initiating more adoption in the state, but it had a name. It's slipped my mind. But basically, it's available to everybody. So if there are rebates, it's not so much rebate driven. It's more lower price driven
Lower price.
to get a larger buying pool.
So they're incentivizing the purchase.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So this the Mass CEC has additional funding to where they can offer it to 6 participants. That includes also MLPs and IOUs. So it's
But the problem here, my friend was, he spoke to me briefly about, was dramatic decrease in price by putting one of these units in.
in the energy cost.
No,
Even
just
cost?
the installation, and the
Yeah.
buying the unit.
Yeah.
I was really, I was taken back by all the incentives that were thrown at them.
Yeah, there's some. I think Mass Save. There's something like it's like $2,500, and there's some additional rebates like per unit that you
Yes.
install on the inside of your house. So there's a decent amount of good rebates available for
Yeah,
those
there's numbers
other
like
groups.
Panasonic, Mitsubishi, and I can't.
Yeah, there's Fujitsu. There's a whole bunch of lots of different brands. Yeah.
They have a program for wood stoves too, because I swapped out my wood stove and got $1,200 rebate.
Yeah. So it depends. So if a town or if a resident has gas with
Yep.
like National Grid, EverSource, they can participate in those programs. But if you
Okay.
don't, if you're in MLP territory and you have oil or electric baseboard heating, actually electric baseboard heating, anybody can participate in Mass Save programs because that's such a high, dirty cost fuel or heating source, it's resistive heat. But yeah, for
So this public
50%.
is very similar to the, what National Grid does.
it does have some program offerings that are similar, yeah.
I mean, I could look into it if we want.
I think it would be a good idea.
We do have an avenue through our current rebate program, probably to offer rebates on, they do offer, some municipalities do offer rebates on air source heat pumps. So that is something we can definitely, with minimal program costs and minimum, because they already manage the program for us, we could actually add that onto our rebate program fairly easily. As part of, if we did even that would be a basic step forward, and then if we did this program too, that would be kind of an add-on to that. So I can look into it for sure, and give the commission more information.
I like the addition of them into the rebate program that you're talking about. Having read what you forwarded on the heat pump program, it calls for the municipality to have a minimum of 3,000 owner-occupied households. And Raleigh, according to the 2010 census, only has 1,507. So in order to do it, it would have to be municipal aggregation.
Gee, I thought we were at 22.
That was
Okay,
the numbers.
15,
It was
okay.
directed right from the CEC website or wherever it directed you to
Yeah.
on that link. So that's one thing I picked up pretty quick on it when I was kind of going through the
Okay.
qualifiers through it. So
Right. Right. So.
for whatever it's worth.
So I'm sure this will come out as more towns get involved, and definitely will, you know, I'm very close with Groveland, Georgetown, Ipswich, and as these towns get wind of this, I'm sure there'll be more adopters, and we
Sure.
can kind of aggregate with a few of us together too, as well. So I'll look into the program some more, and I'll get you some more information on it, and kind of sort of a summary of it.
Cool.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Excuse myself. Thank you very much.
Yep, have a great day.
Thank you for coming. So,
Mr. Chairman, you'd like a motion to go into executive session?
Would I like it?
Well, everybody have a good night.
Would you entertain it, Mr. Chairman?
That sounds better.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, entertain a motion.
you want me and Eric to stay, you want us to go for a few, and you just call me in when you're ready?
Yeah, well, we go into I'd make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose, under General Law 30A, Section 21, in strategy and session for negotiations with non-union personnel.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now in executive
Opposed?
session.